Good morning, everybody. I'm Liz Parnes. I'm the chair of the Landscape Beautification Advisory Board. Thank you for joining us for our workshop this morning. And I'd like to introduce Dina Bell, who'll be presenting the team that will be sharing great information today about better trees, better places. Dina?
Thank you, Liz. I'm Dina Bell Llewellyn. I'm the City of Coral Gables landscape architect. I work in Public Works and Landscape Services Division. Today, we're talking about Better Tree, Better Place, which is a direct partnership with FP&L. FP&L has an urban tree canopy, code called Right Tree, Right Place. So we're working together to manage urban tree canopy and protect the health, safety, and welfare of the public and provide a beautiful tree canopy in Coral Gables. You know, we have almost 40,000 trees in our public places, in our public spaces throughout the city, which we manage and maintain. So our partnership with FP&L is very important. Here's Mr. Frank Quintero of FP&L, who will be part of the presentation. And also with me are my colleagues, Brooke Dannemiller, who is also a landscape architect. He's Assistant Director of Public Works, Landscape Services Division. Got it? It's a long title. And Mr. Jorge Rivera, who is, I call our senior arborist in the city. We have 5 ISA certified arborists in the city, and Jorge leads the team. So with that, I will pass the mic.
So this is a public education workshop or presentation with the Landscape Beautification Advisory Board. We had done this very similar, if not, it's almost identical to the one we had done in December. It's a coordination with FPL for explaining their right tree, right. There's 3 sections to it. Right tree, right place, which is FPL's guidelines, and then we're going to go through our city standards and our guidelines, and then kind of the new procedures and protocols that we have after Irma, from trimming away from power lines, particularly along private property in the back of people's properties, because that's the primary cause of these short-term outages and outages during storms. So I'm going to hand it over to Frank to start to go over FPL's right tree, right place guidelines, and then Jorge will take it from there, and then I get the more technical part at the end, which hopefully you'll stay awake for. Here you go.
Thanks, Brooke. Thank you all for being here. I've worked with many of you. I know some of you, but for those of you that don't know me, I'm Frank Quintero. I work for Florida Power and Light, and I am the customer advisor for the City of Coral Gables. So I work with City, I work with Brooke, Public Works, Capital Improvements, and I'm the point person for the city on all FPL issues. So it all comes through me. We're going to be talking about the Right Tree, Right Place partnership. Really, in how everybody plays a role in keeping the trees away from the lines. You know, we have a role, the residents have a role, and then the city has a role as well. So let me see. Oh, sorry.
We don't have a PowerPoint projector today, so I'm going to be Vanna White here.
So really, I mean, most of you probably know, FPL, we're the largest electric utility in the state of Florida. There's 53 other utilities, but we ourselves, we have 75,000 miles of power lines throughout our territory. And our territory extends from Jacksonville all the way down the eastern seaboard and then up to St. Petersburg. So with that, I mean, we clear, 75,000 miles of power lines throughout our territory, and we constantly working to maintain and clear trees and vegetations away from them. And our power delivery team really works on clearing all of that by reducing and trimming reducing and trimming vegetation and trees from our lines. We educate the public, and we work closely with our municipal partners together. So it's really a unified effort to provide reliable electric service to our customers. Okay. And how do we do that? I mean, we trim trees and vegetation on a planned sequence, right? So the main lines, essentially the ones that go up and down, for instance, Red Road, They go up and down Douglas. We'll trim those every 3 years. Make sure we get everything. And within the neighborhood, we have like 6-year cycles, and we do that. And in addition to that, we also have some just hotspots. If there's areas that need our immediate attention, we'll take care of those as well. So with those 3 programs of trimming and reducing trees and vegetation, we really help to provide reliable electric service to all of our customers. And since 2006, when we were hit by 2 years of storms, we've really made a big investment in our infrastructure, close to $4 billion in terms of hardening the infrastructure, replacing a lot of our old wooden poles with concrete poles, new conductors, and really invested in our vegetation management by reducing the cycles of our trimming to make sure that we can provide that reliable electric service. And in Irma, really the number one cause of power outages was not just the wind, but everything that the wind knocked down. So it was all the tree damage that it did, because Irma was a storm that was the size of Texas. It moved really slowly. It affected almost 90% of our customers, suffered from outages, and the tree damage, the trees that were blown on our lines were the number one cause of outages. And that's one thing that we've really worked hard to manage, improve, and provide better service for our customers. So, undergrounding systems generally perform well, but it's not the silver bullet. I mean, there's a positive, there's negative to it. There's a lot of benefit to undergrounding our systems, and we've currently undergrounded 45% of our infrastructure. We're doing a lot of it slowly, we're moving through. And I know that in the city, we're already evaluating the undergrounding of all of our electrical infrastructure. So right now I believe the city's starting to have community workshops to evaluate what the undergrounding is going to look like. And we're working together with the city through this process, and we'll be working with you hand in hand. So what can you do, right, to keep the trees away from power lines? It's really following the right tree, right place, and understanding what a mature tree is going to look like, after you plant it. Understanding what you're planting, understanding the life cycle of that tree, and really comprehending what that tree canopy is going to look like in the future, and where that is relative to our lines, right? And I'll have handouts later on right tree, right place that you all can take back. And I know that Brooke and I are working on getting all that information on the website, on coralgables.com. So, contract the right arborist and the right tree trimmers and the right vegetation people to do your residential trim backs. After we cycle through and take the lines and take the trees and vegetation away from our lines, that's the time for you to get your landscaper to come in and either finish pairing the tree around, training it, and really following the proper, just proper arborist cuts and stuff to maintain the trees away from our lines. And safety's paramount. That's why it's important that all the arborists that you do use, right? Make sure that they are certified and make sure that they follow, basic safety in trimming down trees, because if our lines are in the way, they need to be qualified to be able to trim back from that. So like I said, property owners responsible for safety maintaining lines away, and then we're responsible to provide safe and reliable electric power. And then with our vegetation and trimming cycles, that's what we move to accomplish. But it really is a partnership with the city and with Brooke's team, along with you as residents. So, Jorge? Oh. And after Brooke, I'll be around to answer any other questions. And you guys have a real treasure in Jorge. He's a wealth of knowledge, and he's really passionate about everything he does. and it's a pleasure for me to work with you.
Thank you, Frank. Nice words. Good morning, all. Normally, I start, when I talk, people say that I talk too much. But I'm going to start with a simple question for all of you. What pruning means for you? People tend to think about one thing when they look at the trees. And the thing that they look at is aesthetics. But we forget that in nature, trees take care of themselves. That being said, every time that we interfere in the life of trees with good intentions, normally we end up causing more harm than good. Meaning, a tree, basically, we should intervene in the life of the tree when the trees are young, and then do a little formation pruning, and then let it go. And then we're going to be concerned about safety, or the tree is old, or the tree leans. But everything is related to what we do regarding in the life of the tree. That being said, about City of Gables, we got about 39,000 trees. And we got a tree contractor that takes care of maintaining the trees for two reasons, basically. One is function and safety. Function is to create a way that the tree can grow in a way that will conduct to safety. And safety means that we are basically going to remove dead, dying, broken branches of trees that we consider to be a hazard or a risk. There are two different meanings about risk and hazard. But that's for another talk. So right now we got 6 certified barbers in the city. 5? I thought, well, I thought that you were one. Not yet. Not yet, okay. So 5.5, okay. So the city implemented a tree ordinance a few years back in order to protect the canopy. The canopy that we have is one of the highest in the country. Being the city of Atlanta having 48.7% coverage, we are trailing behind with 47.8. So we are right there. And the benefits that trees provide are counted in millions of dollars. Even when we don't see it, every single tree in the city provides value, in some cases going from $300 a year up to $1,000, $2,000. So with this ordinance, the ordinance, it means to protect the canopy and require permits for removing trees, even in private or public properties. There are some modifications in the code that allows now to prune your fruit trees in a different way. We are not going crazy like other municipalities that they don't let you crown reduce the trees. I'm going to explain what that means. So you don't have basically a restriction on pruning your fruit trees. But we will recommend that when you do drastic pruning, don't take it lower than 18 feet. And the purpose of that is also, if you are planning to keep the tree, you will be able to reach the fruit easily. People let it go to 45, 50 feet. And then the squirrels are the ones and the birds are the ones that are enjoying the fruits. So one of the other important things in the ordinance is the tree protection zone. But we're going to call it the tree root protection zone. And when we talk about that, there are two elements that we should consider. Oh, I forgot to say something. Please forgive my southern accent. My southern accent is way south from Rio Grande. So, that being said, critical root zone. What is the critical root zone? The critical root zone is all the root system that extends up to 3 times the size of the canopy. meaning when you see a tree where the branches go to the outer limit, that's the drip zone. And that's what some people consider that to be the limit for the roots. No, that goes 3 times, 2.5 times the size of the drip line. The other one is the structured root plate. And normally that's why we require you to be careful and put the drip protection. Because I have seen many arborists, many tree men cutting roots that are part of the structural root plate, and then 2 years later, that tree falls or the tree starts dying because the structural root plate is what makes the tree more stable. So this is basically, if you can see, basically this is the distribution of a species in the city of Coral Gables. We got ficus with only being 4%. There was a time when we had up to 1,600 and something ficus trees. Now we have much less. Then we got 10% of mahoganies. Then we got the yellow that represent the vast majority of trees that were planted with the good intention and at the time when people didn't know much about black olives. And then live oaks represent trailing the black olives. It represents about 21 to 25% of the canopy. And then we got pink and pinkish. We got it, that's palm trees. That actually palms are not trees. They're in the family of grasses. And then we got other species basically in light blue. That's pretty much the idea what we got. The city has maintains a software called Tree Keeper that in a few months will be transitioning into a different one that is called Cartograph. So still at this time you can access the software and you can see the location of the trees. This is in the website. You can see the trees in front of your house. And through the software, we track the maintenance of the trees. When I get calls from people saying, hey, my tree wasn't touched or hasn't been pruned for the last 10 years. We go in it and say, ma'am, I'm sorry, but we pruned it last year. That's one way that we can keep track. Okay, here we're going to talk about.
Just a quick question. You said that's going to be on the website, so you can actually
Yes.
see what.
Actually, you can do it right now. Yes. All right, so
You can see the tree and the species, the work history. That you just have to contact us for if you want to see the work history. You won't see the pruning cycle in there.
Yeah, I like to see what I have around me because I am allergic to black olive and I want to see which ones are the
okay. So we're going to talk something about that a lot of people is concerned, the trees that are prone to fail. Ficus benjaminas, some of the fruit trees, the Norfolk Island pine, and some of the large flowering trees. There are misconceptions about trees that are prone to failure. They are prone to fail in our environment. Ficus, except for 2 species that are native in the state of Florida. One is called the strangler fig because that's the one that you see that wraps around the trees and then it kills it. And then the other one is what is called the Ficus citrifolia. The county, if you for any chance has the property in the county won't allow you to cut those trees because they are natives. But ficus, like Ficus benjaminas, the banyan trees, and well, there are many species of ficus. They, in their environment, in the native environment, they don't fail like this because it's a different type of soil. You got to understand, Coral Gables has a very shallow topsoil layer that goes from 4 inches up to 14, 16 inches in some cases. And then you got core rock. The trees are smart. They can send roots through little cracks, but they cannot penetrate big or large layers of core rock. So they send the roots going everywhere in those 17, 18 inches of soil. So they don't have that strong support. Norfolk pines. Let me talk about Norfolk pines. The Norfolk pines are your beautiful large Christmas tree. And that's a little tree that you buy at Home Depot, Lowe's, Kmart. Kmart was long gone. You can go to Walmart and Target and buy your little Christmas tree. Christmas season pass, you don't know what to do with the little tree. Okay, put it right next to the wall. And the little trees start growing. 30 years later, you got a tree that is 45, 50, 60 feet tall. The tree has a trait that is very, very curious. When you see, there's none Norfolk pine that grows straight. They tend to make like a little curve. And that's because the orientation, a genetic trait through evolution, and they tend to grow towards the place of origin. So people saying, oh, they are leaning. Yeah, it's a natural leaning. Oh, they're gonna fall. No, they won't go to fall. Norfolk pines in storm, they break. They break all the branches. Even you can go to one of Norfolk pines, grab a branch, and you can break it. It's a defense mechanism. The tree loses a part of it to maintain the whole. So the tree is, I'd rather lose a limb, but don't lose my life. You got to understand that. So my advice, keep your little Christmas tree in home, and you're gonna keep it for quite some time. And besides, little trees or big trees, well, big trees don't fit inside the house. But little trees, they can grow, you can keep them probably for about a year, 2 years, and they will clean the environment in your house. They will help to produce oxygen. So, okay, now we're gonna go about tree pruning. Remember what I said. Pruning, there is a misconception about it. If I ask anybody, can anybody, I won't force nobody to tell me, but I don't have something to force you to do that. But what reason you have to prune your tree? Give me a reason.
If a limb is sticking out over the road and the truck is likely to hit it.
Good. If a branch sticks out to the road and is low, yes, I need to prune the tree because it's a safety reason. You got to have clearance, a minimum of 14 feet. Yes. Circulation. No. You see, those are nutrition.
Is there hope that it can go, nutrition can not go through the dead ones? But
You see, trees are smarter than us. Trees are smarter than us. Circulation. Air circulation is not really a reason why to prune a tree. In nature, trees do not have what we call thinning, which is one of the approved standards, pruning standards. There is a rule for all tree companies, but it's voluntarily. So look what happened in nature. Trees grows in communities. They protect all themselves, in between them, among them, they protect themselves. You go and prune a tree. Remember what I said, good intentions. When we got storms, every single leaf, every single twig acts as a buffer. It damps the effect of wind. And what they do, they absorb that energy, which is not just in one way. It goes every way. They do absorb that energy, goes to the branches, and those branches transmit that energy to the trunk. And the trunk dissipates that energy in the soil. But remember what I said, proper tree, proper place. That's a big difference. So, safety, yes, you need to prune your trees because you don't want a dead branch falling on top of your head. 20 pounds, 30 pounds branch falling from 45 feet has an impact about 200 and something pounds. So if you're in the wrong place at the wrong moment, doing the wrong movement, it can break your neck. So crown lifting is what she said. Safeties, trees that need to be these lower branches. When the trees are young, those are the temporary branches. When the tree grows, all this is eliminated and the tree keeps growing, and these branches that you left in here are the ones that are gonna be all the way up here. So you got trees that has lower branches and impacting your neighbors when they are jogging. Yeah, you could remove those when they're small. Don't cut a branch that is 12 inches or 22 inches, right? So what you do is lift the canopy up to 8.5 feet to allow pedestrian traffic. Okay, we're going to talk about crown reduction. It's a big, big issue. Some people consider, oh, my tree is too tall, it's too high. And they hire somebody, a fly-by-night tree company, that tell you, hey, listen, your tree is too tall. You see, it's dangerous because of the winds, because of this, because of that. I can fix it. It costs you $800. Yeah, $800, but $800 will end up to be at least $1,300 because if you do improperly prune and you head rack the tree, which is normally what happened, then you're gonna get cited, and that's a $500. You got 2 trees, they're gonna be $1,000. And if you are a repeated offender, probably you're going to have criminal charges because you're tampering with public property. So, City of Miami, they are not as condescending or they are not so benevolent as us. They will fine you $1,000 per tree. And if they found that you are a repeater, you're going to be $2,000. So, this is what I said, head racking. And you can go through the city and you will see a few cases like this. And people got the misconception. Oh, but the tree, when it grows back, it grows so beautiful. It's rounded. It is full. Yes, it is full. But guess what? The air circulation that she mentioned, now it is a big wall. And the wind, when it flows, it will act as, this will act as a sail. So the tree will fall easier. So this is when you do the proper tree pruning, the proper crown reduction. You selectively go and do a prune back from the top, from the sides. This is before and this is after. And you can manage every single tree through crown reduction over the years. Don't go for quick action. Don't go for quick responses. It might take you 5 years, 7 years, and then, but you got slowly but surely, you're going to bring the tree down. And with all trees, also is very important to consider what we call, this is a term that probably over the years you won't remember, but I might apply it to myself. We can retrench. What is retrenchment? It's something that trees do in nature. Mainly old trees, they start declining. A tree that is 400 years old, you start dying back, and you see dead branches in the very top, and it start collapsing little by little, little by little, little by little. But at the same time, you will see the tree start putting suckers. That's one way the tree is preserving itself for years to come. And at some point, mainly in Europe, they allow the trees to do that because they help wildlife. There's a point when you're going to have a bigger stump, probably maybe about this big. I'm 5'6", probably about 7 feet. And that stump is not a danger anymore. So the structural pruning is another way that we can create a safe tree, and it's based on selecting and establishing the lowest permanent branches. Remember what I talked about formation pruning when the tree is very young? If you're not into gardening, which is something big different, is not a little, but it's a complete different world from trees, you will understand how this works. Please do yourself a favor. Hire a certified arborist to do the job. You're going to find all kinds of certified arborists. They're going to tell you that. Some of them will play the cocoa. How many of you are familiar with the cocoa term? Well, the cocoa in the Spanish culture, probably not only in the Spanish, but the Latin culture, I'm talking about Italy, Romania, France, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, well, then Latin America. The cocoa basically is a fictitious creature that it comes at night and it scares you. So many of these arborists played to be a cocoa. Oh, you got a tree that is really bad. You got to take it out. And instead of saying, I can prune your tree to be safe. And I'm going to tell you why. Because removing a tree, it will cost you, in Coral Gables, remember this. In Coral Gables, it's going to cost you $5,000, $4,500. You go to Homestead, you go to Hialeah. Oh, I can cut that tree for $800. You live in Coral Gables. And then what happened? You end up removing a tree that could have given you many years of enjoyment. How many of you climbed a tree when you were a kid? See? We got a connection with trees. And I'm going to... Oh, my God. That's a military cut. Well, not really. This is another thing that is very common for people that doesn't know anything about trees. They remove all the branches, all the foliage, and you get a little tuft, a lion tuft. And guess what happened when we got a storm? There's nothing in here to dampen the effects of the wind. And the tree either break easily, or in the worst case scenario, it will topple. And you know why? It will topple because, the tree is damaging my sidewalk. I got somebody that went and cut the roots. All the roots that were under the sidewalk, There are many ways that you can work with trees and sidewalks. Remember, proper tree, proper place. Is that all that I got?
That's all you got.
Oh my goodness. Any questions? No questions?
So how do we know which trees are
Proper trees.
that information?
Yes. Actually, University of Florida did a good job, and they have, if you go University of Florida, South Florida trees, they will give you a list probably about in between the small, medium-sized, large size, flowering, probably about maybe 200 and something trees. So don't plant a tree that you see in the nursery and you like it without knowing the size of that tree when mature. Oh, but when I planted it was a little thing like this. Yeah. And that's a big problem. Don't plant any large shade or flowering closer to 5 feet within your foundation. And not because the tree will damage the foundation. It is because over years, your perception will say, oh, the roots of that tree are growing against the wall. They are cracking my foundation. That's a myth. So, any other question? Your second, your first.
That one you do. I mean, I can see
No. Utility pruning basically came from pruning trees to protect or to clear electric lines in the rural environment. But what happened is, through the years, they found that the trees adapt to that type of pruning. And what happened in most cases, when you see that wide V, it makes it, that union is stronger. When you see narrow unions, be concerned. So normally, these branches in here, this will go through a process for the tree that is, the tree to develop the adaptation to it. Because trees are very smart, as I said, but that's another talk. Second question. Oh my God, 2 at once. Can you give me the number of the lotto? No. Oh, okay. A plumeria.
Yeah. And I planted a wisteria close to it that provide,
Shade.
well, like a trellis type thing for the wisteria.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that it wrapped really tight.
Mm-hmm.
Is it gonna kill it?
Okay. Let me ask you a question. What happened if I come to you, grab your arm, and I press really hard? Sorry, I'm a little cold. Is I press really hard, what happened? No, you won't faint.
Fight.
Oh, you will fight? No. What happened is I'm compressing your arm and I'm restricting the flow of blood. The same thing happened with trees. Trees, there are two tissues in the trees, or two systems. Trees are called vascular because they got vases that brings up and brings down nutrients and energy. One is the phloem and the other one is the xylem. We won't talk about that. But just like arteries and veins. If you got something constricting the flow of sap, the tree will not do good. And in some cases, the restrictions is so strong that some branches will die. That answer your question?
Yeah, do I need to, should I like take it off or cut it or what? Because, or is it going to
I know you love it, but I would say cut it. Sorry. Find another place. Yes, ma'am.
Our community is so proud of our family but they can also be very dirty and very sort if they're not kept well cleaned, cleaned up and washed and things like that. Some of the ones like around the community are absolutely gorgeous. They're all clean and modern. And when those parts start coming down, they get cleaned and stuff gets broken. But we have seen it in our street. There's this awful
Well, I would say wrong tree, wrong place. I mean, they were planted with good.
Repeat the question so that they can hear.
Oh, okay. The question is about banyan trees and how beautiful they are and how messy they are. Some people complain because the fruit fall on top of the cars, make the sidewalks slippery. Some people complain because the amount of leaves. Okay, we got to live with inheritance that we got. And the problem is that although banyans and the ficus species in general, they are very aggressive in the sense of you cut one branch, next year you're going to have 20 branches. But every time that we go and cut those branches, you will see that they are branches like 8, 10, 12, 15, and in many cases up to 24 inches. Ficus trees, trees in general, they do not heal wounds in the same way that humans do. A tree, first they gotta be some amount of hormones and compounds and minerals that go and plug the cut. In some areas of the tree, they don't have that because there is no protection zone to close the wound. So what happened is that wound stays open. We live in a very humid environment with a lot of rain, a lot of pathogens. Sometimes the being sneaking the country by people that, oh, I brought my little tree from China. And they brought pathogens, non-native pathogen that they don't have predator, they just don't have a way to control that pathogen. And guess what? That wound never closed. There's no occlusion. That's the right term for that. And the tree is slowly but surely start a decaying process in that cut. And then 20, 30 years later, you got a branch about the size of the trunk of that palm that fall with no warning. You blame the tree. Oh, this tree dropped a branch. No, the tree didn't drop a branch. You wanted the tree, and then this is the consequence of your action because you didn't know anything about the physiology of the tree. So, banyans are beautiful. Ficus are beautiful. Australian pines, they're beautiful, but given the proper place. There's...
These were planted in the early days of Coral Gables by, I think, Button went around.
Yeah, but we keep mutilating those trees. And I call it not pruning. We keep mutilating and injuring those trees because whoever decided to plant those trees, at the time when they planted, they saw they were beautiful, but that wasn't the proper place. Yes, Stanley.
I would like to question for our residents and guests here.
Don't get too
When they're,
technical, okay?
In the selection of getting trees pruned, how do they go about finding out if he's a certified arborist or if he has arborist certification?
How would you find one?
Well, he should have a license. If he has arborist certification, he'll have a license number. You can go onto the ISA. You can go onto the ISA website and find out whether he's certified. Because anybody can grab a chainsaw and cut a tree, but not everybody's certified to do it. So I think it's very important that he is certified.
I'm gonna expand just 2 minutes. I'm gonna spend 2 minutes on that.
Then I'm out of time.
Wait. I just need to answer that question. ISA, International Society of Arboriculture, they have a website that is called Trees Are Good. Trees Are Good. You go into that website, and the first thing you're going to see in that page is on the right-hand corner of your screen. You will find a link that says Find an Arborist. Click on that one, takes you to another page. Click Find an Arborist, and then you can select either by the name or by the zip code. Coral Gables, the zip code, it give you about 49. If you click Miami, it will give you like 169. And you can expand the search up to 100-mile radius. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure.
It's a tough act to follow. I'm going to go quickly to expand upon the banyan question. Our urban forest is over 90 years old now, and so when trees are first planted, we're typically lifting, and now we're getting to the point where we're having to strategically crown reduce larger trees because they've outgrown the soil volume they have, which Jorge touched on. So given our soil conditions, we can't let a banyan tree grow 200 feet tall. We've got to keep it down and manage it. So that's how we're kind of managing the safety aspect of that. Quickly, I'm not gonna go through the whole FPL. Everyone has a printout. This will also be on the website. After Hurricane Irma, the city and FPL we coordinated to come up with new procedures and protocols for trimming vegetation particularly along the power lines along the back of private property. And because there's an easement, all those power lines run in an easement, so FPL has the authority to go in and prune away from their infrastructure. And so that's a key thing to keep in mind. So if anything's within 10 feet of a wire, that's a hazard. That's a potential arcing hazard to cause that's those intermittent outages that you get. And then if it fails, then it falls on the wires and takes out the wires, and then it's a bigger issue. The key components that are updated, I'm not going to go through all the pruning stuff because Jorge covered all that in our stuff. When a small palm, like an areca palm, Christmas palm, solitaire palm, gets up to the fronds, once those fronds touch the wires, FPL is now authorized by the city to remove that palm and only those small little species down to the ground. Because once you cut the top of a palm, it's dead. Like, it doesn't grow back like a tree. And so instead of just cutting it below the FPL wires where it's still in the AT&T wires and telephone wires, then it's a hassle to get out, they'll bring it down to the ground, or at least a minimum of 6 feet or a foot below the AT&T wire. And that allows you or your gardener to be able to remove it safely and not be worried about hitting the wires. They also are going to take a before and after picture of it. So they have a GPS system where they'll take a picture. It'll be GPS located. So if someone comes home and says that palm wasn't within 10 feet, that wasn't touching it, they'll have photos of before and after that we can reference to make sure, one, so they can make sure their crews are doing the right thing, and two, we can protect our residents from, potentially over pruning. If there's a larger palm, like a medjool date palm, a Canary Island date palm, something that might appear to be a specimen, a high value tree or palm, they'll prune it back and then they'll notify the city, and then we'll work with the resident through code enforcement and public works to reach out to the resident to give them the option to relocate that palm, or if they or remove it, or FPL can come in and make it ready and basically bring it down so that it will no longer be impacting those wires. So we're not going to do it. That won't be immediate. There's a process to notify the resident and work with them. We don't want to cut down, a palm that someone got for Mother's Day or something like that. That's an areca palm or a solitaire palm isn't going to be that, but one of these beautiful Canary Island date palms, that's a high value palm. They're not just going to remove that. And then when FPL goes through, if they see a tree, for example, there's a large mango or avocado tree with a giant cavity 15, 20 feet away from the power lines, and they can tell if that limb breaks and it's going to take out the power lines, it'll be the same process with those large palms. We'll work with the resident, see if they want to remove it, prune it. FPL can come in and make ready, which basically they will come in, bring the tree down to a level where an arborist that's not certified around power lines will be able to remove it successfully. The city will help with the disposal of the debris in those cases. So FPL will cut it, bring it out to the property, and then the city will haul that away. So we're sharing cost on hardening and protecting our electrical infrastructure. Just for reference, when you're looking at the power lines in the back, there's some diagrams here. The ones at the very top that are uncoated, those are the, I'm going to get this wrong here. Those aren't the service lines. Those are the distribution lines, correct, Frank? The ones that are up high, those are the distribution lines, right? Yep. And then the coated ones below that are the service lines. And those are the ones that go to your home, your business, or to the street lights. And so those are slightly safer because they're coated. The service line that goes from the pole to your house, it is your responsibility as a property owner to prune away from that. And so if you have something that's overgrown and it's gone in the wire and you're not comfortable pruning away from that because it's in the wires, you can call FPL. The contact info is on here, and they will come. You can schedule the power to be shut off for a period of time. So say you want to on Tuesday you want to trim away from it. You'll call them up. They'll schedule a date. They'll turn off the power for a period of time. You prune away from it, and they'll come back and turn it back on that same day. So that allows your landscaper, your arborist to come in and safely prune away from it. But it's your responsibility as a property owner to maintain the vegetation away from that line. We've also started making door hangers for when we have this type of work. So usually you get the FPL door hanger that goes around and says we're going to be in your neighborhood. We also now have a City of Coral Gables tree pruning, tree maintenance door hanger that will also go with that we use to communicate with residents. Because a lot of times when we're out there in the field, people are at work, people aren't home. So we leave that door hanger with our contact info with what the visit was. Before we'd have to leave a business card and a little note. So now we have these door hangers that we can use to reach out to people because we don't have everyone's contact information. And let's see if I forgot anything here. And that was the super abbreviated version. So also the city has coordinated with FPL on in the past, the city would plant pretty much any species, regardless of the overhead wires. So the compromise between FPL and the city is where we have overhead wires. For example, along Venetia Terrace, we planted Bridal trees, and there's FPL wires ahead. Bridal is a medium-sized tree. It grows slow, and it can be managed with proper pruning to grow away and around the wires. We're going to avoid planting oak, mahogany, black olive, ficus, Royal Poinciana, those kinds of really large canopy trees directly underneath the wires. Where we have more space, say, for example, a swale like on University Drive, where we have oaks along there, we have a really wide right-of-way, and where we can be far enough away, we will coordinate with FPL. We'll go out in the field. We'll say, hey, we think an oak tree would work here fine without it's far enough for the wires, and then we'll be able to plant there if FPL and the city can agree on a planting location. Also, new construction plans. We review all the plans that come through the city. That's one of Dina's primary functions. And so if we see someone proposing an oak tree or mahogany tree or ficus tree right underneath the wires out back or a transformer, we're going to catch that and say, let's put a smaller species, move it further away to help prevent these future, so we're not having the same issue 20 years from now. And then work planning for streets that have the city prunes trees, FPL prunes trees, and so where we have those overhead wires over the right-of-way, we're going to try to stagger our schedules. So if FPL is on a 3 or 5 year cycle, so say it's a 3-year cycle for that street and the city has a 3-year cycle, we're going to stagger those by 18 months. So that tree is now getting pruned every 18 months, once by FPL, once by the city. And so that will help increase the frequency and keep those limbs from touching those wires hopefully longer, and during a storm being more resilient. Any questions on the super abbreviated FPL portion? All right, well, there's a cooking program after this. If you guys have any questions, we'll stick around to ask more questions unless there's any now. All right. Okay. Oh, and also, anyone, if you guys can sign in, just so we have your email, contact info. We like to know who's at the meeting, so we can, communicate if anything comes up, or if you have any questions. We can also email everyone this PowerPoint presentation if you sign in on the sign-in sheet. Anything else? All right. Awesome. Thank you so much all for coming.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming on this beautiful Saturday morning.
It is beautiful.
We have a nice little chill this morning. We have Chef Sergio from Belmont. The restaurant is right here next to Seasons 52 on Miracle Mile. So do come and visit them. He'll be doing a tostada with serrano, ham, and a fried egg. So, Chef?
Okay. Hi, how are you? Good morning. How's everybody? Well, let's shall start. I'm pretty sure almost all of you are familiar with the different types of ham. It's going to be more educational than anything. And that's actually only for display. We're going to eat it all once we finish, okay? No kidding. We're going to do a tosta this morning. You see how little I've slept yesterday. So we're going to use pan payesa. It's from northwest of Spain, right next to Galicia. It's in between Galicia and Asturias, Cantabria. Very nice bread, crusty, a little hard so it can support all the tomate. It's called tombaquet, which is shredded natural tomato, olive oil, garlic, sea salt, white, and black pepper. Very easy to make. Get bigger tomatoes with a shredder. You shred it on a big bowl, mix all the ingredients. So the tomato, even with the peel on it, it's very good. I know there's a lot of people, they don't like it, but if you put the peel on, very, very nice. It gives a little more texture. Some olive oil on it, sea salt, garlic, and then the white and black pepper. Really, the quantities and the taste, it really depends on you. There's some people, they don't like it with a lot of garlic. Some others, they like it with a lot. So just mix it, not with a whisker. Mix it with either a fork. Sorry, not blend it, but mix it with a whisker or with a fork, just by hand. It's going to be a lot better. If you mix the tomato with the olive oil with a blender, it's going to be, I don't know how you say the word in English, but emulsionar in Spanish, which is very, very liquid, and it will separate the oil from actual water of the tomato. So it's a lot better just doing it by hand, so you have the nice texture and you can actually fill the tomato on the mix. Types of ham. I just brought one for display. We're going to be using this other one, which I sliced it this morning at the restaurant. You can see it in here. And for the tapa today, we're using serrano ham, 20 months cured from La Alberca from Salamanca. We have in Spain 4 denominations of origins for the ham. Talking about Ibericos now. This one is 18 months cured from Córdoba. It's called Valle de los Pedroches. That's south of Spain, northern part of Andalusia. We have Jabugo, which is the first denomination of origin in Spain, been in business since 1862. And it actually holds one of the oldest company in the country. They've been producing hams for almost 250 years, which is Cinco Jotas. You probably are familiar with it. If not, if you pass by the restaurant, all those black bags we see at the front, all those are Cinco Jotas hams. So that's actually the best you're ever going to find. It's a 5 years cured product. It is pure Iberico acorn fed, and it's a 100% natural product. It's gluten-free, doesn't have any conservatives or preservatives at all. And then there's 2 more denominations of origin. The other one is from Salamanca, the one that we're trying today. And there's a 4th one, which is Extremadura. It's called Dehesa de Extremadura, which is also south of Spain. If you see the 4 denominations of origin, except the one from Salamanca, which is north in Madrid, and or in a couple of hours north of Madrid, the other 3 are south of Spain. Extremadura is actually the region in the world that produces the most quantity of hams. It used to be a couple of years ago United States, but it's still the production per capita. Spain is the biggest producer. So instead for us of being the bull, the national animal, I think it will be the pork. We do a lot of pork. We produce a lot of pork. We eat a lot of pork. and it's actually a source of energy and food, which is 100% usable. It actually doesn't have any waste at all. So any part or any section of the pig that you can think is waste and disposable is actually not. You can use 100% of it with no problem. It's all usable. And my colleague, friend, and cook, Andy Figueroa, and he's going to be preparing the tapa today. So all the meritos is for him, okay? Yes, please. What is the pata negra is the question. Pata negra, it's a denomination. We're trying not to call it anymore. Pata negra is because the Iberico hams, you can hear me? Yes? Is because the Iberico hams, the pigs, they actually have a black hoof. Now, many years ago, that was the way to denominate and to call the very good jamón ibérico. Now we try not to use it anymore because the pata negra, the black hoof, is not only Iberian pig a thing. There are some other types of pigs, they have a black hoof as well. And you might be asking for a pata negra, and they can give you a total, complete different thing. If you're looking for a very good quality ham, there's one, for example, in Hungary, which is quite popular in Europe. It's called Mangalica, and they have a black hoof color as well. So now in Spain, the regulation changed around 2012, I think it was. So the right way to denominate or to call for a product is you give the percentage of pure Iberico that the breed has. So that's why the pata negra will be 100% pure Iberico, acorn fed, and you give the number of months or year that it has of curation. So the Cinco Jotas, for example, would be a pata negra ham. It is 100% cure Iberico, acorn fed 5 years. It will be 5 years cured. This one, for example, is 18 months. You can find anywhere in Spain from 3 months up to 5 years. There's some producers, Cinco Jotas has made it before for 7 and 10 years, but they only do it for marketing purposes. It's something that you're not going to find in any store because that's way too much and it's going to be way too expensive. But from 3 years up to 5 years, you have quite a few different manufacturers. Keep in mind also here in the U.S., you have 5 different approved suppliers of jamón ibérico. In Spain, only with denomination of origin, you have 200 and almost 75. And then you have another hundreds that they're not with denomination of origin. The denomination of origin, it gives you a warranty that the product has and meets certain standards for quality. So you have a lot of other producers. They're local, they're very regional, they don't do it for export or anything, that they have jamón ibérico, and it's available for sale if you go anywhere in Spain. So the variety you can find here, thank God that they brought here almost top of the line. There's a couple of producers in Spain that are not in the U.S. yet. Joselito is one of them. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's a very old brand from Salamanca, but they're not in the United States, only in Spain so far. But the other 4 are very good brands, very good quality hams, and you can, try it here. What else? The fried egg, it's one of the things that we've tried at the restaurant, a couple of things. It's actually a tapa that you can almost put anything on it. We tried to do something different this year. We've been doing it for now, I think it's 4 years. 4 años, no, Andy? 4 años? For 4 years. And always we've been trying for the seafood paella, the fideuà, the paella campesina, and so on. But this year we will try, something different, so we don't get boring, you guys. We still have it. We serve it at the restaurant. It's the fideuà, the one that I was talking about. A little town in the province of Valencia. And we've been doing it here in the market. It's actually the first year we don't participate in the market. So we're getting older. We just opened another restaurant around almost a year ago in downtown area in Miami. So I think we're tired enough to come here every Saturday morning and and it was going to be a challenge for all of us. So we just decided to step back a bit. We're quite busy the rest of the week, and then on the weekends we're here almost across the street here in Miracle Mile. So enough to work. I need to enjoy my kids a bit. All right, so with the tomate, as I said, make it the texture you want it. You want it a bit more salty, I recommend you use sea salt. It's a lot better than the regular, kitchen salt. Why? Because the other one, you can put a ton of it. You won't notice. Let it rest for like 15 or 20 minutes. It's going to be super salty. With the sea salt, that's not going to happen. So just put a bit. You can just whisk it and mix it with your fork and then give it a try. Here's the key thing. You can see the little pieces, like tropezones in Spanish, or little pieces of tomato. That's what makes it very different when you blend it with a blender or you whisk it either with a fork or a whisker. So you want to feel and taste that texture of the tomato. The other way around, if you put it in a piece of bread, once you pour it in a jar, it's going to be too much liquid. So once you eat it, it's going to be a total mess. And this way, the bread can hold it. All that excess of olive oil and a bit of water from the tomato, it's going to be absorbed by the bread. And then you can put practically any type of food on top. And then what I said with the tapa, the ham is so versatile. You can use it with almost anything. We've done dozens of different tapas with the jamón ibérico or jamón serrano at the restaurant. And then the egg was a nice thing. It comes up very good. I highly recommend that you eat it with your fingers, finger food. Not one bite, but maybe no more than 2 or 3. Okay? Because the eggs, they're not fully cooked. They are sufficiently cooked so it doesn't break the yolk on the top. But the idea is this: once you buy it, all the yolk comes out and mix it with the ham, the bread, and the tomato, and then you eat all together. But as I said, put anything on top you feel like it. We've done it with gulas, with baby eels. We've done it with pieces of garlic cooked in the oven. If you get the clove of the garlic, the whole piece, which is delicious, and then put it on top of the bread with the ham, it comes out very nice. You can do it with manchego. Almost everyone serves it with manchego cheese. But any other thing. We've tried once with shredded chocolate on it, and it came out very nice. So if you look for a very dark chocolate, like 85% cocoa or more, and then lay the tomato, put the ham on top, and then spread a bit of chocolate on top of it, it's very, very nice too. As I said, anything and any idea you have in mind, you mix it with the jamón, not only for cooking on the plates and the dishes, but to make a nice tapa, and it will come out very, very nice. Any questions? Yes. Yes? Well, this is cured meat, so it's never going to get bad. The gentleman was asking if he wants to buy a ham, and then once you slice it and start cutting it, how do you store it? Cured meats never get bad. It's never going to get spoiled. You can have it for years. Now, there's one thing that's going to happen. It's going to sweat. I have a little plastic film in here. We just brought it with a car. But then you can see it on top as well. I don't know if you see it from there, but my hand's greasy. That's totally normal. Just by gravity, it starts losing the fat because it's sweating. It's like any of us. So what will happen is over the time, it will start losing that fat and that, the juicy part of the ham. Now, here with these weather conditions we have in Miami, it will last very good and non-refrigerated because you don't need to refrigerate it. That's kept ambient temperature, room temperature, for a good couple of months, 2.5. It will be totally fine. If you pass by the restaurant, we have a table and we have all the display of the hams. That's our storage for the hams. We don't keep anything on the refrigerator. Everything is outside. The regulation here in the U.S. tells you that they have to come vacuum sealed. It's actually the only market, U.S. and China, that requires that. Any other part of the world, you can see the hams like this, or maybe with a nice wrap or a nice paper, anything to make it a bit more attractive, commercially speaking. But you just open the vacuum seal and then start slicing it. So it's really gonna last you forever. Now, what happens if it dries up and then you don't consume it within 2 months? And I can assure you, I bring one of those at home, it will last for 2 days, maybe 3. So I have a lot of kids. You just start slicing. If it gets hard, get a shorter knife and then start taking all the pieces of ham out. That's what we do at the restaurant when we get very close to the bone. All this ham that it's left in the leg, and then we cannot slice it anymore like the one we're doing here. So we just use it for cooking. We do croquetas de jamón. I'm sure a lot of you have tried at the market. We've been doing it for many years. So Iberico ham croquettes, you can mix it with anything, any stew. As I said, the ham is something that you can use 100% of it. Once it's done, you can see the bone and the leg. So you have the rotula here, well, you say it in English. All this bone, we just slice it with electrical slicer, cut it in 3 or 4 pieces, and then use it for cooking as well. So you put it in stew, we put it on the ham croquettes, but you have all the bone marrow, toda la médula del hueso, and then it gives an excellent flavor to the ham. Same thing. So it's something it's not going to get bad. And once you open it, a good 2 months, 2.5 months, it can last you with no problem.
Vamos a cortarle la clara. Sí.
We're just going to cut the egg white around, so it's going to look a lot nicer, and then it's not going to be as messy as with the whole egg on top of the piece of bread. Sorry. Yes.
So the same situation that you had the origin of the ham, you had the same situation with the Manchego cheese, different parts, different denomination, different aging time.
With almost any product. You have actually Spain and France started it almost 200 years ago, and they wanted to market their products anywhere in the world. And they thought it was a good idea to start marketing it not by how they were made, but by their origin, their origin of procedence, their procedence. So a lot of you know about the wines. There's a lot of wines. Spain is one of them, France as well. Now the U.S. is starting to make it. You not only have the category of your wine and your denomination by the type of grape, but by the origin, where it comes from. You have the Champagne, almost 150 years ago. Same thing. The Champagne, it's only like 7 little towns, the territory of the Champagne in France, and that's the only region in the world, except a very smart guy back in the 1850s in California who registered and copyrighted the brand of champagne here in the U.S. that can use the name and the brand of champagne in the bottles. So you have the same exact thing in Spain, which we do a lot in northeast of Spain, in Catalonia, but not only, which is cava, sparkling wine at the end. The way of fermentation and production and so on, it's identical to the champagne, but we cannot call it champagne. So we call it cava. And actually with the cava in Spain happens exactly the same thing. You actually don't have excuse me, you actually don't have a specific denomination of origin for certain products. You can actually produce cava in Malaga or Sevilla or any other territory in Spain as soon as you have certain and meet specific requirements. But with the cheeses happens exactly the same thing. We have over 500 different varieties of cheese. We're always fighting with France and who has the most. We say we have, and then the French guys, they say they do. So, but with a lot of many different products, you have honeys, you have meats, you have a plenty, of different things that they have. It's called Consejo Regulador, like a regulatory council, and they give you and they approve you if your product has denomination of origin. You will have a little sticker on the bottom. A lot of you might be a lot more familiar with the wines, but exactly the same thing. If you get a wine from Ribera del Duero, Rioja, from Penedès, from any wine region in Spain, you have a little sticker with a serial number on the bottle of wine. Well, with the products, it's exactly the same thing. This one, we just opened it up this morning, and my use is I always remove everything. I take off all the labels and so on because we start slicing it, and then I don't like to have plastic things hanging on the food. But all the Iberica hams, they come with a barcode. You actually can have a full traceability on your product. So all of them, you have that kind of serial number, and you can go back to the origin and the procedence of the pigs. So it's very interesting. If you're into, where are certain products coming from, at the restaurant we have like 6 different cheeses, and the same thing. They all have the denomination of origin. Manchego is one of the most popular ones. A lot of people know it. It's a big producer. They produce millions of tons of cheese a year. But you have some other denominations of origin. They're not that big. We have an amazing cheese at the restaurant. It's called Tetilla cheese from Galicia. It's like 3 different provinces in Galicia, northwest of Spain, they produce it. And it's fantastic, very good. But there's some others that are not as known and as popular as Manchego or Rioja or Ribera del Duero, and they have excellent products, not only in Spain but many other countries. But we know in Spain we're the best. So, any other questions, guys? Excuse me? Same thing with the olive oil. Give you another curiosity. We produce almost 75% of the olive oil in the world. And then, because we cannot sell that much, the European Union forces us to sell it to third countries. That's why Italians, they became so good, because they're using our excellent of production of olive oil for the last 60, 70 years. Believe it or not, check it out. I mean, it is actually happening, and it's happening now. There's certain countries that we produce too much, and because of the quotas we have in the European Union, we cannot. So we have to sell that excellence of product to third countries, and olive oil is one of them. With the wine, for example, the same thing. Between Italy, Spain, and France, we produce 68% of the wine that's produced in the world. So there are certain products that are, very, very concentrated in certain countries. Are we ready to try the tapa? I don't know if you have any other questions. I've been talking too much. I have a bit of cough. You're ready, okay? Now, if you want to give it a bit of color, which is something that we forgot, sorry, my bad. You can put a bit of pimentón de la vera. It's a sweet red pepper from Spain. You have the sweet and the spicy. Maybe you're familiar with it. That's also denomination of origin. It's one of other products. Just splash a bit on top of it. It gives a very nice color. If you don't have that, I'm just thinking out loud, you can use a little piece of piquillo red peppers. The piquillo red peppers are from Asturias. The very good ones are from Lodosa, which is a little town in Asturias, northern part of it. And they're sweet as well. You have the sweet and the spicy. Excuse me. You have the sweet and the spicy. And you can put a little piece of the piquillo pepper on top. Don't put the whole thing. It's going to be way too big. But if you slice it and put like a little pieces and then sparkle on top of it, it will be very nice as well. Yes?
Chef, when it comes to piquilla pepper, when we got at the store, do we read, how do we read spicy, not spicy? How do we know?
Sweet piquillo red pepper. Yes. You have different types. You will have probably here the sweet and the spicy. Give it a try with the sweet. The nice thing about it is they have a wide neck. You can open it with your hand and stuff it with almost anything. And that's one of the things at the restaurant that we've done hundreds of times. So we can stuff it with practically anything that you can do kind of a bechamel with it. Get a spoon, fit it in, put it in the oven for a few minutes, and it's ready to go. And it's beautiful. It looks very nice, and it's a super tasty tapa. Very, very nice. Okay, give us a couple of more minutes, and then we're going to have a few more ready. ¿Hacemos otra? ¿Sí? Well, we have quite a few ready, so I think we can start in a couple of minutes. Yes?
You sell like the olive oil, whether it comes from you said. Do you differentiate between the qualities that you sell them?
There are, yes. The question was when we sell the olive oil to third countries, if there's any type of difference in terms of the quality. It is. On the olive oil, for example, you have different types of extraction in terms of the numbers, and then if it's on cold pressed or hot press. The olive oil, the best one, it's 100% pure olive oil. It's extra virgin, it's called as well. You can see it on the... In a lot of bottles, it says AOVE, A-O-V-E, aceite de oliva virgen extra. And you have between the first extraction, the second extraction, and there's some producers, they even do a third extraction. So that basically is, if you get the olives, you put it on a press, it really makes a big difference if it's a cold or a hot extraction, or a hot or cold or a press. And with the remaining, they again do a second extraction, so the quality of it is going to be a lot less. And then even with that, when we produce in bulk, then you have a third extraction. They have to mark that on the bottles. When it is first extraction, it will mark it and put it on the bottles. And in Spain, at least, I don't know much here about the regulation. The one we get is from Spain. You have the variety of olive, el varietal de la aceituna. You have the variety. And you have, if it is 100% pure extra virgin olive oil, and then if it is first or second extraction, because we don't actually do third extraction in Spain. So that's sold to different countries. Correct, yeah. Any of, our products, I mean, like many of others, you have at least the country of origin written on it. But with the denominations of origin, if you're really into the products, there's very specific marks that you have to look for. It was a lot of misunderstandings with the hams, for example. The denomination, and back a few years ago, around 10 years ago, it was 12 different types of different Iberico ham, distinguishing between the front and the back leg. So you have 6 from the back and another 6 from the front. And it was a mess for a lot of consumers, because they didn't exactly know what they were buying. Keep in mind the Cinco Jotas, top of the line, the best ham you're ever going to try. A piece, a leg, a back leg is going to cost you something in between $900 to $1,100, so it's a very expensive product. One of those from the Esa Cordobesa, it's going to be between $500 to $600. So if you will buy one, it's, a big investment. It's not something cheap. And it was a lot of misunderstanding and confusion. Certain people that were not familiar, they didn't know exactly what they were buying. Well, the regulatory council, they made it easier. They went down to 8 different types, and they came with a color code. So those are the tags that we remove at the restaurant. But if you want to buy a very good quality ham, look for the color code. You have the DEO, the denomination of origin, the barcode, and the color code with the regulatory council. So you exactly know what you're buying. You have white tags with the barcode. You have brown tags, green tags, and black tags. The very good ones are the black tags. That's pure Iberico, acorn fed. And then the number of months or years of curation, it's something that the manufacturer, it's going to tell you, either on their packaging, some of them on the ham. Cinco Jotas, for example, that's one of the hams that we sell, the most. It's probably around 95% of our sales are Cinco Jotas. And they stamp the number of months of curation on the ham itself. And they stamp also the week and the year that the ham has been started the curation process. So you really can know and trace when the ham has been produced. And then you can have an idea on how old is your product, how has been sitting on a shelf, for example. I can tell you, there's certain locations, I've been to third countries, where you can try the Iberico ham. It tastes like almost plastic. And then if you, find out a bit, I don't know if you can see it from there, but this one, they put it right here almost on the bone. It has this stamp on top of it. That thing is super heavy. You have the little stamping here that's going to tell you the origin of the ham, and probably on this one as well, the week and the year of production. So they're going to give you a batch number. But again, it's cured meat. If I will have one that's vacuum sealed at the restaurant since 2012, and then I will open it tomorrow, it will be totally fine. And then I can sell it to you, and you wouldn't know. So we don't do that, by the way. But it's something that it can happen. That's what I wanted to tell you. It's something that it can happen. So, keep an eye on it. I mean, the best way, a very good quality ham when it sweats. That's the best indicator that you're buying something that's fresh, that's been recently opened. You see? That's moist, that's juicy, that's the way the ham it should be. You get dirty when you eat it. So that's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. How was the tapa, by the way? Good? Yes. We do not. We started to doing it a few years ago, actually. We've opened in 2013, and rain doesn't help. But we do not. We don't do happy hours anymore. The bread, we bring it from Spain. We get a lot of products from Spain. Ours is from, it's barra payesa, it's baguette payesa, it's called. Northwest of the country, we get the dough. And then we form it at the restaurant, we fermented it, and then we bake it at the restaurant. So we do the hams, we do the cheeses, and we do a lot of other products for the tapas. The piquillo peppers, the chickpeas, the garbanzos, we take it from Asturias. We do fresh fish from northern Spain as well, from Asturias, Cantabria. Our bread and many other things. Faves from Asturias. Excuse me? We do. Mm-hmm. We do. We sell almost all the products that we use, that we can, pack it and make it in smaller containers. Some of them, like the olive oil, we buy it in bulk, like in 5-liter containers. So we do 1-liter bottles, for example. We use 100% Arbequina from Extremadura. And, sorry, we're putting a few things away because it's getting wet. You want to try a second tapa? Because we overdid a bit of the eggs, and I don't think we can finish around 30 more eggs, so I have to work. But we do sell all our products. Yes, sorry. We've done it. We've done chef's table a few times, sorry. One of the events that we do the most is wine pairing dinners. We do a lot of wine. We have almost 80 different wine references at the restaurant, and we pair it with 4 plates and 4 different types of wine. So before we started to doing just only the tasting, wine tastings, I think it works a lot more with food. And that's actually one of the events that we enjoy the most. I highly recommend you pass by any of those. They're, very familiar. We're a family-owned business. It's a big family table. We do a very wide table, over 4 feet wide. We have the wine distributors, people from the winery talking about the wines. We talk about the food and introduce the food. And it's a great way to chat with each other. And that's the way we really like to play with the tapas. We have a bunch of different tapas at the restaurant. When we get to the event, we always do something different. So, the idea is to play a bit with it. And then we have direct feedback from our customers. If it came up nice, if it was good, if it wasn't. If it wasn't, it was my wife's fault. But if it was good, like most of the times, it's thanks to Andy. Now, we do a few events. We have flamenco shows as well. We do live music and flamenco shows on Friday nights. And we started to do some dancing as well Saturday's night. So after dinner, between 10:15, we start with a bit of dancing as well. If you want to pass by and have a drink and then, move your body a little. So we'll be every Saturday night here in Belmont. Yes. Well, the question was, is actually the ham too old to be served and sliced? What do we do with it? You can cook with it. You can actually slice it with. There's a shorter knife. Well, he has the big one. We don't slice it with this one, by the way. I didn't bring it, but it's a very long, thin one, very flexible, so you can go around the bone. But then when the meat is getting very hard, get more like a cooking knife, a kitchen knife, and then start removing all the meat and cut it in pieces, in dices. You can do a bunch of different foods and tapas. And we do the chickpeas. We do the croquettes. The croquettes is something that we use most of our leftover ham when we get closer to the bone, and then we use the bone marrow and the bone. Cut it the bone in 3-4 pieces. All the time we just get rid of this part, which is good as well. We don't use it. We have a lot. We keep around 20 to 25 bones at the restaurant, and then if we keep the whole thing, we wouldn't have room to store it. So we just cut this off, throw it away, but then everything else, we cut it in 3 or 4 pieces and cook with it. And croquettes, we do a lot. Hundreds. So we remove all the ham, clean it, you get all the fat, throw it away. Still, you can use it. With the fat, you can do, amazing tapas. Very good. And then you just slice it and dice it in smaller portions. For the croquettes, we cut it in tiny portions and pieces, and then we cook the bechamel with it. But if you do the fried chickpeas with it, I will do bigger portions and then mix it with garbanzos and do a very nice tapas. You can do any type of stew with it. You can use the whole thing. I've had customers, they buy ham from us, and some of them, they haven't bought it from us, but they've told me, no, over the time, I've had it for like 2 or 3 months. It's getting very hard. I cannot slice it anymore. I just threw it away. Well, don't do that. You're throwing like $1,000 to the garbage. So that will be a waste. Some of them, this is totally normal. That's oxidation process. Any type of food in contact with the air, with oxygen, starts to oxidize and changing and turning the color. So you can see a yellowish, more like brown, not this part here, which is cut in purpose, depending on the denomination of origin, they give different shapes. You can see the difference here. It's like a V shape on this side. There's some others, they don't have that type of shape. But, excuse me. But all this is totally normal from the oxidation process. Remove it the top, you can see white fat on there where you can totally use it, cook it, eat it. It's very, very good. And then, oxidation is normal. It starts to get a bit of mold because of the humidity. And here in Miami, it's kind of normal. Again, your product is never going to turn bad. It's never going to be contaminated by any type of agent. Don't even worry about, seeing mold in it. Get a knife. Remove it. Take it off. Same thing as with the cheese. It's a natural product. It's something that it's totally natural. There's nothing bad about it. So with the ham, exactly the same thing. It's at your home. Is, lasting more than usual. Well, the best way to preserve it will be to wrap it in transparent film and put it in the refrigerator so it's going to last longer and it's not going to lose all that fat that's, so good. Or if you're going to be away with some time or something. But if you're going to consume it on a daily basis and slice a few pieces out of it, I can guarantee you, we have customers that last for a dinner. You have a dinner at your house for 10, 12 guests, and they will finish the ham in, hours, in no time. I can tell you. We've done it at the restaurant. Average time to slice a leg of ham, nicely slice it, not like, cortarlo con un hacha, no. Slice in thinner portions with a proper knife. It will be around 3 hours. 3 hours, 3.5. That's how long it will take. We've done events, and they literally, once we slice it, we have our plate right here. We don't put that many, by the way, so it's a bit of the slices in there. We never put slices on top of another. That shouldn't be the way to present it. And then we just have it in here, and I have people standing from the table and then grabbing the plate away and taking it away. So in 2 hours, hams were gone. We've never had a customer that didn't like Iberico ham. Let's put it this way. I'll have a few more ready for you guys. Was this better, this tapa, than the fideuà or the paella campesina from a couple of years ago? No? You were here? Yes? Was it better, the paella? Oh, you haven't tried it yet? Well, give it a try. We have like 20 or 25 more, so. We've been doing the paella for 3 years, I think now, 3 or 4 years, so we'll do something different. Yes. Yeah? We sell it by the pound at the restaurant, yes. There's cinco jotas, for example, the best one. She was asking me if you want a portion, you don't want to get the whole thing, you can buy it by the pound, yes. The smallest we do is 4 ounces, a quarter of a pound. Cinco jotas here in Miami, there's only a few places that sell it. You have probably like 4 or 5 places, no more than that. I can tell you which ones are those. Right here in Miracle Mile, there's one excellent place, Belmont Restaurant, 339 Miracle Mile. Fantastic place. Well, there's 4 or 5, as I said, and that hand slice it to you were even less. There's a couple of other restaurants that do it. Jamón Ibérico Pata Negra in the river, you probably know them. Shishon, I don't know if they still do it, but when the previous owner was in charge, Begoña, they were doing it. So I'm assuming they will still selling it. We do it as well, and there's a couple of hotels. There's one in Brickell, which I'm not sure if they're still doing it, the Setai. No, the Setai was, no, the Mandarin Oriental, they had it on the branch. And the Setai, they used to have it like 2 or 3 years ago as well. So I don't know of any other places they will hand slice cinco jotas for you. When you buy by the pound, keep in mind that you just get only the meat. You're not paying for the bone. Well, you are paying for the bone and for the fat. So you can see a big difference in price. If you get a quarter of a pound, you will be paying $150 a pound. For example, with us. Now, if you buy the whole leg, you're paying $61 a pound. Again, keep in mind that you're paying for the bone and for the fat the same way we do. Here in Miami, again, we are the cheapest one selling Iberica hams. Cinco jotas at 61. There's another couple of places. I'm not going to tell you which ones are those. That's your thing to do. That's not nice. But they have it around $69 and $79 a pound. An honest price, I will say, because I've seen very crazy things here in this lovely city. It's totally ridiculous and outrageous to buy an Iberica ham for $1,500. Don't pay for it. And I've seen places they do it $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 for a leg. Totally ridiculous. Fair price for the ham. You can buy a cinco jotas in Madrid, in Spain, which is expensive city, between 650 to 750 euros. Keep in mind, now with how the euro and the dollar is, you may be paying $825, $850. A leg of ham here in the US shouldn't be costing you more than $1,000. So you're paying for the freight coming over from Europe to here and then have it local. It's not crazily expensive. It's an expensive product, but it's not something that's ridiculous. If it's $1,600 or $1,700, don't buy it. Then you have some Ibericos for $400 and $500, which is a fair price. Keep in mind there's quite a few different products in the market. You really have to look for what you're buying. If I will sell you this piece of ham $1,000, it will be, a robbery. So you really have to know what type of ham you're buying. Also, going to the other extreme, I have a lot of customers, they came up at Christmas, but how come you have your ham so expensive? We bought it in Costco last week, and they were selling the ham holder, and a knife for $99. And I was telling them, there's no way in the world that you're going to buy an Iberica ham anywhere, for $100, anywhere. They're giving you Serrano ham. They're giving you a white pig. They're giving you a product that's not even cured for 15 days, which there are. There are, and they're good as well. But it's not right to tell you that they're selling you one thing when it's a totally different. Price-wise, you're not going to buy a BMW for $15,000 anywhere. So exactly the same thing, or a Mercedes. So with the ham, it happens exactly the same thing. It's a good product, it's an expensive product, and it costs what it costs. If there's, people, they want to sell it for a ridiculous price or very low price, you're not buying the right thing. Hope it was good. We have 2 left. So, those 2 are mine, right? I'm kidding. Well, thank you so much for coming. It was a nice pleasure to have you again. And I hope you enjoyed it. And, we'll see you anytime soon at the restaurant if you want. And another second location in downtown Miami, a block away from the courthouse, if you want to as well. We're there Monday to Friday, every day. And, thank you. Very nice to see you again. Thanks.